fought with skill, and frost pain aided that fighting skill. Therefore, frost pain was a major factor in the development of the present situation, of the gulf between them. However, it was not the sole reason for it. If one gave frost pain to an ordinary warrior, could they fight with Zenburo like this? The answer was no. Zenburo was not some two-bit mook. The weapon was powerful, but the fact that Zaryusa could exploit it to its full potential, because he was a first-rate warrior. But more outstanding than that was his perceptive and analytical mind. Zaryusa had evaded the strike when Zenburo had cast down his halberd, because he had been on top of the situation, and had been closely observing it. He had sensed the presence of his foe's ace in the hole, and that the halberd was a mere distraction. When he went on that journey as a branded traveler, what else had he brought back with him besides the knowledge of fish rearing and these battle techniques? Before she knew it, Crush had become certain of Zaryusa's victory. Now, she merely watched the profile of his face, her heart pounding in what was no longer anxiety. He really is an impressive specimen of a male. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. Time seemed to fly past for those watching this exciting battle, but the two participants felt otherwise. The toll on their bodies and spirits caused by their panting was more intense than the passage of time. Despite being covered in blood, Zaryusa's fighting spirit was still strong. For that, the surrounding lizardmen congratulated him. After all, nobody else had lasted this long against their chief before. And then, just as Zenburo seemed on the verge of claiming victory, he dropped out of his fighting stance. The audience waited with bated breath. Zenburo ought to be declaring his victory any time soon. However, the opposite happened. I've lost. But their chief should have been the winner. Even so, why had he announced his defeat? Only Crush had foreseen this. She raced into the fighting ring. Are you all right? As he heard those words, Zaryusa exhaled and lowered the sword in his hand. In a very tired voice, he replied, "It's nothing fatal. I should be able to fight in the upcoming battle. In any case, I'll use healing magic on you." Crush's grass costume rustled, and she poked her head out. Zaryusa felt a comfortable warmth suffusing his wounds, different from the searing heat that had made them. As he luxuriated in the sensation of vitality flowing back into his body, he turned to look at the gigantic lizard man with whom he had just fought a life-and-death struggle. Zenburo was surrounded by his tribemates. He was explaining the situation to them, and the strategy Zaryusa was using. "That'll do it." Crush declared that his treatment was complete after casting 2 spells on him, and Zaryusa looked down on his body. While the clotted blood still stuck to his skin, the injuries beneath had completely recovered. There was a certain tension over the former wounds when he shifted his body, but at least they did not look like they would open up. "Thank you." "You're welcome." Crush smiled brightly, and the pearly teeth she exposed were very pretty. "You're beautiful." "What?" Her tail swished and splashed against the water. The two of them gazed silently at each other. Crush's silence was because she had no idea why this male would casually mention something like that. She was not used to such compliments, so hearing Zaryusa say things like that was not good for her heart. Meanwhile, Zaryusa had no idea why Crush was being quiet. Did I do something wrong? Thoughts like that ran through his mind. The fact was that he had little experience with females, so he had no idea what he should do. Zaryusa was surprisingly tense as well. Just as the awkwardness between them reached its height, a voice saved them. "Oi oi, are you trying to make me jealous, you bastard?" The two of them looked to the source of the voice, to Zenburo. Their simultaneous and identical reactions left Zenburo momentarily speechless. "Oi Whitey, how about some healing over here?" Zenburo seemed quite nonchalant about Crush's albinism. However, Crush recalled the Zenburo's branded body, and realized why he reacted that way. Fine, but shouldn't you let the priests of your tribe heal you?" It doesn't matter." "Enough talk, it really hurts. Feels like even my bones are frozen. Could you hurry it up a little? Just remember to tell your priests that you were the one who asked me to do it." "It's fine, I'll say I forced you into it, as a request." Crush sighed and worked her healing magic. Zariusa noticed that the hostile glares around him had diminished somewhat, and that there were a few friendly eyes looking upon him. All right, it's done. Crush had cast more healing spells on Zenbru than on Zariusu. That implied that his injuries were not external, but internal. Oh, you're better than our priests. Thank you. Still, I don't usually heal members of other, never mind. Thank you for your kind words. Now then, since we're both healed, why don't we talk about the main topic? Might be a bit of a rush, but you don't mind, right? Oh. Then let's hear it, although I wanted to say that. Zenburu stopped mid-sentence and then smiled. But first, let's drink. Zariusu and Crush had no idea what those words meant, and their faces were equally confused. Troublesome business should be discussed over wine. You know that, right? Zariusu understood the meaning of the life and death duel. After all, it proved their respective strength, which was useful in negotiation. It was the lizardman way of life. Drinking parties, on the other hand, were alien to him, because the Green Claw tribe had no such practice. People who went drinking right after fighting for their lives seemed terribly sad to him. I don't get it. The strength drained from Zariusu's body, and his face was one of frank surprise as he muttered his response. However, it was immediately drowned out by a surging wave of regret in his heart, regret for behaving so childishly in front of a chief with whom he had not even allied with yet. In fact, he felt Crush looking at him with a strange expression in her eyes. Zariusa had no experience with love, so he had no idea Crush had been studying him all this time. He was seeing a new side of his beloved, and he found it both curious and adorable. No, I mean, if we drink a lot, our heads won't be clear, which would be troublesome for us. Zariusa hurriedly tried to amend his words, but Zenburu brushed it aside with his reply, Oi oi oi, you're a traveler, aren't you? Don't they say that if you want to learn something, go to the dwarves? No, I didn't learn from the dwarves, but from the people of the forest. Really? Then all you need to know is this lesson of the dwarves. Friends who drink together become firm friends. Maybe we won't have much time together, but we ought to discuss things frankly and openly. Shouldn't we, Zariusa Shasha? I see, yes, I understand, Zenburu Gugu. Good. Come on, everyone. Time to drink. Bring it over. Get everything ready. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. The pile of logs resting upon the ground stood nearly 2 meters tall, and the crimson flames upon it burned fiercely, as though they were reaching to the sky. This massive red blaze chased away the dark of the night. Near the log pile was a large vessel that was over 1 meter tall, and about 80 centimeters wide. A fermented scent wafted out from it. Several dozen lizardmen took turns scooping out liquid from the vessel. However, the wine within did not seem to deplete. This was one of the 4 treasures that was ranked alongside Zariusu's frost pane, the great wine cask. While it could produce an infinite supply of wine, the taste was passable at best, and anyone who knew their wine would turn their noses up at it. However, it was delicious nectar to the lizard men. Therefore, the guests kept coming. There was a quiet region some distance away from the wine cask. The reason why this place was quiet was simple enough, because it was littered with the bodies of many drunken lizard men, who lay insensate here. All the lizard men who had gotten so drunk that they had passed out were dumped here. Having shed her leafy costume, Crush carefully, taking care not to step on the tails of the fallen lizard men, made her way to this place, paying close attention to the ground. Her footsteps were even, so she looked like she was still sober, but it was hard to say that she was not drunk. Her tail seemed like it had a life of its own, energetically flexing here and there. Sometimes it curled, sometimes it stood straight, and sometimes it drooped. It behaved like an excited child. The fact was that Crush felt something like a cool wind coursing through her soul. While part of that was because of the wine, that was not the sole reason. The liberated feeling of her body had also contributed to it. This was the first time she had shown her albinized body to so many people. However, their leader was a monster in his own right, so while the people around her had been startled at first, she soon blended in with them. With both hands full of food, a bliss-filled Crush continued forward. She reached the place where Zaryusu and Zenburu were sitting on the ground and hoisting a glass to each other. Said glasses seemed to have been made using coconut shells, and the liquid within was transparent, but it emanated a thick fermented smell. Crush laid a pair of raw fish in front of the two of them, snacks to go with the drinks. Zenburu smiled and greeted Crush. "Yo, plant monster. Could you not call me that?" She had already shed her costume, so why did he insist on calling her that? It would seem he planned to amuse himself in that way. Once she realized it, Crush decided to cease her pointless resistance. "Have you finished your discussions?" Zaryusu and Zenburu looked at each other and nodded. For the most part. The two of them wanted to speak in private, so they asked Crush to leave them be. Since they had said as much, all she could do was leave and bring some food over, but within her heart, she was hoping to be part of their conversation. After all, if they were discussing the upcoming battle, then she was certainly involved in it. She was hoping to be allowed to skim the essentials, even if she could not listen in on the inconvenient parts. This is a conversation between males. But Zenburu shut her down with those cold words. Crush expressed her displeasure on her face, but she had no choice but to change the topic. "So what do you plan to do? Fight shoulder to shoulder as allies?" "Wha? Oh, as if you had to ask. Of course we're going to fight. Or rather, even if you didn't come, we'd be fighting anyway." A sound like sticks scraping against each other came from Zenburu's maw. "You really are a battle maniac." "Ah, don't praise me like that, now I'm all embarrassed." Zenburu paid no heed to Crush as she rolled her eyes, but made a request of her. "Oh right, help me talk some sense into him, plant monster. No matter how I ask him, Zaryusu won't accept the position of our chief." There was a weary, despondent look on Zaryusu's face. Judging by the fatigue there, Crush could tell that he had repeated his answer many times in her absence. "He can't accept that position. After all, you're from different tribes, and Crush was about to say he's a traveler, but then she considered that Zenburu was also a traveler, and decided to change the topic. "So why did you become a traveler anyway?" "What? Oh, after I lost to Frostpane's previous owner, I was devastated, and wanted to become stronger. That being the case, why not leave this place and go somewhere else? That was why I became a traveler." Beside him, Zaryusu rounded his shoulders in powerlessness. It was then that Crush recalled what Zaryusu had told him about his own travels. In the past, when he had left on his journey, the only thing keeping him going was his determination, resolve, and his sense of duty towards his tribe. Zenburu, as a fellow traveler, ought to have felt the same way, but right now, he could not sense any of that from him. Crush placed a gentle hand on Zaryusu's shoulder, as if to say, "He's him, and you're you." At this moment, anyone observing them would probably conclude that they were lovers. As she realized this, Crush's tail curled up, while Zaryusu's tail swished back and forth. The two of them gazed at each other, and smiled shyly. Zenburu pretended that he had seen none of that, and continued, "I thought there must be someone pretty strong inside that mountain, given how big it was. So during my travels, I met the dwarves and learned a lot of things from them. Got that halberd from them too. I didn't want it at first, but since they asked me to keep it as a memento of our meeting, I had to hang on to it. So that happened." "That's nice." Crush's answer seemed a little slapdash, or rather, somewhat cold. "Oh thanks." Sarcasm did not work on him either. Now that the good mood in the air had been ruined, Crush picked up her wine, and downed it in one gulp. She felt it burn as it went down her throat, and the heat seemed to radiate from her stomach throughout her entire body. Zaryusu polished off his wine in one go as well. Just then, a quiet question made its way through the air. It seemed completely different from the voice just now, and for a moment it made them wonder who had asked it. "Say, do you think we can win?" Zaryusu quietly replied, "I have no idea. Same here. After all, there's no such thing as a battle where victory is assured. If someone actually dared brag about how he'd win despite not knowing his enemy's strength, I'd beat the crap out of him to shut him up. Crush had no response to Zenbrew as he chuckled. Still, our foe's gotten a little careless. The changes here ought to affect our chances of victory. In place of Zaryusu, Crush looked at Zenbrew with a puzzled look on her face. Could you recall what that monster said? Sorry, I was sleeping then. Surely you must have heard of it from someone else? Humph, I couldn't be bothered to remember something like that, so I forgot it. In any case, the important thing is that if they come looking for a fight, then we're going to give them one. There's no hope for this guy. Crush decided to abandon her attempts at explanation with that. Zaryusu grinned wryly, and answered. He told us to struggle with all our might. A dangerous expression came over Zenbrew's face, and his features twisted savagely. Well, that just pisses me off. To think they're sneering at us from the beginning. Zenbrew roared with frightful anger. The cry carried with it his wrath and displeasure. That's right, they're turning their noses up at us. The fact they're so arrogant probably suggests they're powerful enough to break our resistance easily. But we're going to crush their self-assurance. We're going to gather the 5 tribes and show them our full power. I want to beat back their assault and show them that we're a force to be reckoned with. Humph, well put. I can understand that. I like it. Just as the 2 males were eagerly discussing their battle plans, Crush rained on their parade. I doubt there's much merit to wounding their pride. All we need to do is prove our worth to them, right? Perhaps if they know that, they won't exterminate us. Oi oi oi, are you telling me to bow to annoying people like that? Zaryusu, I know fleeing is dangerous, but I think it's better to live on, even in bondage, Crush quietly said. The other 2 did not deny her or tease her for her slave mentality. It was not that they wanted to be ruled, but being slaves had more of a future than being corpses. As long as there was a future, there was infinite possibility. For instance, they could teach the method of fish farming to everyone, and that might allow them to abandon their homes and flee elsewhere. Any leader who abandoned that possibility and ordered everyone to die was not worthy of his position. Now, listen closely, you all. As they heard Zaryusu's calm voice, the 3 of them pricked up their ears, and they heard the sounds of mirth coming from the party. After we're ruled, we might not be able to laugh and rejoice like this. The operative word being might, right? Really? I don't think so. I don't think anyone who would take pleasure in watching us die would be so compassionate. After all, if there was any mercy in their hearts, they would not plan to exterminate us in such a playful manner. Crush nodded. But even so, still, what I want to say is, please don't die. I won't. Not before I hear your answer. Crush and Zaryusu exchanged passionate looks under the night sky. And then, they made their vow. Paying no attention to Zenbrew, the bored outsider. Clone. New paste. Few persons can be made to believe that it is not quite an easy thing to invent a method of secret writing which shall baffle investigation. Yet it may be roundly asserted that human ingenuity cannot concoct a cipher which human ingenuity cannot resolve. Edgar Allan Poe. Oh. 184,037 pastes opened. Based on an original idea from sebsavage.net. Sam and Max.